Okay, everybody. Hey, you sent in a lot of questions that we tried to answer over the last 5 weeks in this Ask Me Anything sermon series. Special thanks to Pastor Chris Poirier for leaving his church, River Valley, and coming and helping us answer the questions, and for our executive pastor, Troy Singleton. Thank you guys both for all of your hard work. Now what I want to do is just answer some questions that came in online that we didn't get a chance to answer live, and I'm just going to pose these to you guys, and we'll post these answers on social media. The next question is a big one that deserves kind of hours of answer, but the question asks about self-righteousness. So I love the way this question is worded for either one or both of you guys. What distinguishes self-righteousness, trying to be right before God on my own efforts, from glorifying God, listen to the last phrase, in my own life? How do I know that I'm not just trying to be self-righteous? Or how do I recognize, no, this act is really for the purposes of glorifying God? Great question that all of us need to ask regularly.
Sure. For me, I would say you have to examine your motives. Why are you doing what you're doing, whether it's good or bad, whatever it is? Is your motives for doing good is for you to receive accolades for it? Or you want the glory? Or you want to say, this is what I did today, or this is what I did last year, or last month, so on and so forth. If you're doing it with the mindset of receiving praise, and you want other people to know all the great things you're doing, you're doing it for the wrong. That's how you know you are in self-righteousness. And if you're just doing it, and someone may say, hey, what are you doing? And you ain't doing nothing, and you content with not worrying about what they think of you, even though you know what you're doing is for Christ. There's no need for you to respond and giving them a litany of all the good things that you're doing. Yeah. If you don't feel that urge to justify what you're doing, then you're doing it for Christ. But you feel that you have to explain it or constantly tell people what you're doing, then yeah, you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Absolutely agree that this is an issue of the heart, and what is your motivation? That we were created to bring glory unto God, not to ourselves. And that's hard in our culture, because our culture teaches glory to self, wave our banner so we can get more money, corner office, window, all that garbage. Or just notoriety even. We've reached a point that it's not even, technically, I guess that partially shows my age that I say corner office instead of, like likes and all of that. Because that's the reality of those two differences, right? There was a generation of corner office, window, etc. is the epitome of success. Having a couple 100,000 followers on Twitch or on YouTube is now, who are you bringing glory to? And like you said, if we have to justify that, suddenly we're probably walking around like a bunch of Pharisees with Christ standing there going, but why are you praying out loud amongst all these people? Yeah. And I think that's the danger that some of us fall into is we fake piety of being righteous in front of people so people can be like, oh, that wonderful Christian. Now, that's the balance, though, is some people might see you doing that and think that, and you may have your heart in the right place. So if you thought this was easy, it's not.
It just got hard.
At what point have we've not said that any of this is easy? So it's not. But you got to protect your heart, and especially pride is one of my issues that I know that I constantly have to stop and go, am I bringing glory to God right now, or am I fighting for myself?
I want to point out what you just heard from these two pastors. What you do is not nearly as important as why you did it. And notice that we didn't say anything really about the actions themselves. It was all the motivation behind it. And if you're wondering why that's such a big deal to us, well, this comes from 1 Samuel chapter 16, when God says to Samuel, hey, I don't want you to look at the outside of the man. I don't want you to look at the actions. I am far more concerned about the heart, because I'm the kind of God who looks at the heart, not just the actions. I'm not saying the actions are not important, but what you just heard from these two is why you do or didn't do is much more important than the actions. So if you can look in the mirror and say, no matter if everybody in the world is mad at me for doing it, I know God is pleased, then you're glorifying God. If you're saying, I don't care if everybody in the world loves me for this, but God doesn't, then I'm not going to do it, then you're glorifying God. And if you're doing it for any other reason, as you just heard from these two pastors, then you're probably doing it for your own self-righteous, your own likes, your own self-promotion. And this is really, really hard to do every minute of every day, weighing your heart and asking, why did I just do that or say that?